Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. And in this one, we're going to be taking a look at some new card reveals for the set Mega Dreamy X, which does release in Japan on November 28th. And these cards will be part of our special English set on January 30th. So we will see these cards fairly soon in the TCG. So yeah, as for the first few card reveals, we have a new Vanillite. Very cute as always. I will say the artwork is very nice this time around, but not a very super useful attack. However, we do have Mega Froslass EX. So Mega Froslass EX has 310 HP, which is, I will admit, on the bit of the low side, I would say, for a Mega Evolution, even though it is a stage 1, like, you kind of want to have 320, 330 at the very least. So 310, again, on a bit of a low side when you give up 3 prize cards, but still a lot of HP for a stage 1 to have. It has 2 attacks, Rebellion and Absolute Snow. So Rebellion does 50 damage for each card in your opponent's hand, which is a very funny attack for a few reasons, because of course, if your opponent tries to just downsize, in the earlier turns especially, you can of course play an Iono, and then give your opponent 6 or 5 cards, and then do a whole ton of damage. So that's the most appealing aspect about Froslass, I would say. But of course, your opponent can control how much damage you're doing. Now, there is a Frostmoth that if we scroll down all the way down here to see, this one does have the ability Inviting Wing. It just says once in your turn, you may use this ability and each player draws a card. So, yes, there is a pseudo draw engine from Frostmoth. So you could play maybe 4 is a bit unrealistic, but 2 or 3 Frostmoth on the bench, draw 2 or 3 cards every turn, and kind of force your opponent to have an extra 2 or 3 cards. So that's 100 or 150 damage plus, which is not bad actually. And if you're forcing your opponent to do that every single turn, then it's obviously going to be quite detrimental to them. And if you ever want to keep cards in their hand, so if they have 6 or 7, then of course you will be getting big 1-hit KOs with Rebellion. So quite useful, I would say. Then if you want to, you can also put maybe an Ignition Energy on Frostmoth, for example, Frostlass rather, to do Absolute Snow and do 150, and then also do a Sleep. So that could just set you up for a Rebellion KO, Basically, it also means that your opponent has to play cards. They have to play supporters and things if they want to maybe retreat and get out of the sleep condition. So I don't think Frostlass is actually that bad. It's not a brilliant card. I don't think this will be destroying the meta anytime soon, but I do think it could be a lot of fun as well to play. So that's really cool to see. Next up is we have Ends Midnight. So this is the first of many new Ends Pokemon, which is really cool to see. I do hope this means that we will be getting more Hops Pokemon and Iono's Pokemon and Steven's Pokemon. Fingers crossed, I hope. I do hope we get a bunch of new cards for those guys. But yeah, seeing Ends Vanillite is really cool though. So I got a new Call for Family, which is nice. Also got an Ends Vanillish, which is worth talking about because Enzorok can copy Sheer Cold, which does 60 damage, and the defending Pokemon can't attack during your opponent's next turn. Which doesn't sound like much, but later on in the game, when your opponent has burned through all their switches, then, they might not want to fork out their retreat cost, or they might not be able to in the first place. Then this could, actually determine winning a game and things. So I do think it is worth bringing up at the very least. So, pretty cool attack, I would say. Then we have Ends Vanillix, which is a bit more of a beat stick Pokemon. I do like Vanillix, it's one of my favorites. But it has 2 attacks, Layered Snow and Blizzard. Layered Snow, I would say, is probably the better of the 2 attacks. Place damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon until their damage is doubled. So I'm assuming this would literally just duplicate the damage. So, if you have an Enzork do, let's say, 90 damage with a Darmanian, then, the next turn you could use Layered Snow and double it to 180, which is kind of cool, I guess. I'm not sure how super useful this would be. You would have to do some shenanigans with getting one of these out to play, because I don't think the Enzork deck really has a lot of space as it is. So fitting a rare Candy Vanillix line into your deck seems a bit awkward, but people have done some funny builds with Klinklang, so I'm sure it's possible with Vanillix, but it does seem a bit clunky, basically, at the end of the day. But it is a fun variant at the very least, so that's cool. So yeah, the Frostmoth that we mentioned earlier with Froslass just allows you to draw a card, but both players have to do it, so I definitely would not recommend this as a draw engine. The Dunsparce is miles better, but if you are trying to use cards like Froslass, where you want your opponent to have bigger hand sizes, then I would say that Frostmoth is worth considering. So with a Mega Froslass, Frostmoth will be playable, which is cool. Then we have Zekrom, which is Quite an interesting card, to be honest, because it gives you access to Shred and Rampage. Shred is really nice because it will shred through Mimikyu, so Enzorok can actually get through Mimikyu, which is cool. It also has Rampage Thunder, which is a really big attack. This is really something that En's Reshiram has been missing, or like Enzorok, I should say, because like the deck has a lot of smaller attacks and it has a reprisal move, but it doesn't have like just a big flat damage attack, and this gives you that option. And with a maximum belt, you can also hit 300, which is great. So this plus the 90 from Diamantian pretty much gets you a KO on most relevant Pokemon in the format right now. So I would say that's definitely worth considering. I do think this is a really solid buff to the Enzorok deck, definitely more impressive than Vanillix over there. But like the art rare is also stunning as well. But yeah, it's a very, very cool card. I definitely think this will be playable in Enzorok. It's probably like the most impactful card I would say out of these reveals for sure. We also have a new very funny supporter, Anthea and Concordia. This supporter is just insane basically, but you can only play this card if you have Ends Darmantian, Ends Zork EX, Ends Reshiram, Ends Zekrom, Ends Klinklang, and Ends Vanillix. So that's two stage 2s, two basics on the bench, and two stage 1s. That is ridiculous. Like, that is an awful lot of setup. However, during this turn, if your opponent's active Pokemon is knocked out by damage from attack from one of your Ends Pokemon, take 3 more prize cards, which is yeah. So I guess like optimal scenario, you KO a Mega with like copying Vanillix's attack or something. You KO a Mega Evolution, you just win the game. I guess that's what this deck wants to do. Or like you could KO an EX Pokemon, but then you'd only be taking 5 prize cards. You could KO like you could KO 2 different Pokemon actually in the earlier turns of the game with Darmantian, and then like take 5 prize cards that way. Yeah, like that could be fun actually. I think there's like some fun applications for this, and it will be funny to try and watch people like make this work, you know. But the fact that you need 2 different stage 2s, it's not just Vanillix or Klinklang in play. You need both is really rough. Like I think this card would have been extremely powerful if it had just been the stage 1s and the basics, but even then, like it's a lot. You know, it is a lot to get those Pokemon out to play. But yeah, it'll be fun to try and make this work as a meme deck. But like the extra 3 prize cards, oof, that is tempting. Like that is a lot of extra prizes. But at the same time, yeah, I'm kind of bothered about this basically because it's a lot of setup, right? It's a lot of work. However, I do think N Zekrom is a very sizable buff to the regular Zoroark deck. Like just being able to throw out 250 and like in more niche situations get through other effects like Shred is really nice. But having the 250 I think is a really big deal. So yeah, that's cool to see. I think N Zekrom will definitely be a good partner for Enzork. The Frostmoth for Mega Froslass for sure. Vanillix is more of a meme pick, and yeah, like we've talked about Frostlass. But yeah, let me know what you think about these new reveals down below. Do you think this means we'll see like more new Ionos and Hops Pokemon? And yeah, thank you for watching.